The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast cathedral made of crystal and steel. 47 different species sat in their assigned seats, each one representing thousands of worlds across the galaxy. The air hummed with translation devices working hard to turn alien languages into something everyone could understand. Counselor Zethkar stood at the center podium. His insect-like body clicked and chittered as he moved. His 4 arms gestured to the holographic display floating above the assembly. The display showed a small section of space marked with red warning symbols. Fellow counselors, Zethkar's voice buzzed through the speakers. We face a problem that grows worse each day. The humans continue to spread through space without following our rules. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Some counselors nodded their massive heads. Others made sounds that could have been agreement or disgust. The Draknari representative, General Vorthok, slammed his scaled fist on his desk, his reptilian features twisted with anger. These humans think they can ignore our laws, General Vorthok growled. They build colonies wherever they want. They trade with whoever they choose. They act like children who never learned respect. The holographic display changed to show human colonies. Dozens of small worlds with human settlements, each one built without asking the Council for permission. Each one a violation of galactic law. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the human section of the hall. She looked tiny compared to the aliens around her. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style. She wore a plain blue uniform that seemed almost boring next to the colorful robes and armor of other species. She listened to each complaint without speaking. Her face showed nothing. She took notes on a simple tablet, while aliens 10 times her size talked about humanity like it was a disease. Counselor Melthrin stood next. His crystalline body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. His species had been part of the Council for over 5,000 years. They considered themselves the wisest race in the galaxy. The humans are young, Melthrin said in his musical voice. They do not understand how things work here. We must guide them before they cause real problems. More counselors spoke. Each one said the same thing in different ways. Humans were too primitive to understand galactic politics. Humans needed guidance from older, wiser species. Humans were like children who needed strong parents to keep them safe. The ethereal representative floated near the ceiling. Her energy form shifted colors as she spoke. We have watched this species for only 200 years. In that time, they have shown they cannot control themselves. They fight wars on their own world. They destroy their environment. They create weapons designed to kill their own kind. Sarah Chen wrote more notes. She did not look up. She did not argue. She just listened. Zethkar clicked his mandibles together for attention. The Council has discussed this problem for many months. We have reached a decision that will help both humanity and the galaxy. The display changed again. This time it showed a new map. Human space was marked with thick blue lines. The boundaries were much smaller than the areas humans currently occupied. Humanity will be given specific zones for expansion, Zethkar announced. These zones have been carefully chosen. They contain suitable worlds for human colonies. They are far enough from important trade routes to prevent accidents. General Vorthok smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Council will also provide protection for human worlds. Our fleets will patrol human space. We will keep other species from taking advantage of human weakness. In return, Melthrin added, humans will follow Council laws. All new colonies must be approved. All trade agreements must be reviewed. All military actions must be authorized. The ethereal's light pulsed brighter. This is generous. Most species wait centuries before receiving such protection. Humans are fortunate that we care about their welfare. Zethkar looked directly at Sarah Chen. Ambassador Chen, you have heard our offer. The Council grants humanity 30 standard days to consider these terms. We expect a grateful response. Sarah Chen stood up slowly. She was barely tall enough to see over the desk in front of her. When she spoke, her voice was clear and calm. "Thank you, Counselor Zethkar. I will take your message to my government. We will give it careful thought." "Careful thought?" General Vorthok laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "What is there to think about? We offer protection and guidance. Any reasonable species would accept immediately." Sarah Chen smiled politely. "My people prefer to discuss important decisions before making them. We will respond within the time limit you have given us." Several counselors made sounds of disbelief. The Keth Mori representative, whose tentacles writhed with agitation, spoke up. "Ambassador, perhaps you do not understand the generosity of this offer. The Council has never extended protection to such a young species." "I understand," Sarah Chen replied. "My government will consider all aspects of your proposal." Zethkar's compound eyes focused on the human ambassador. "Very well. But understand this, Ambassador Chen. The galaxy is dangerous for species that try to go alone. Pirates raid unprotected worlds. Hostile aliens enslave weak civilizations. Natural disasters destroy entire systems. The Council's protection is the only thing keeping humanity safe. Unhardidoc. Endhardidoc. Endhardidoc. 17. Weef. Endhardidoc. "We appreciate your concern," Sarah Chen said. Melthrin's crystalline form chimed like bells. 30 days, Ambassador. We hope humanity will choose wisdom over foolish pride." The session ended with the sound of Zethkar's gavel hitting the crystal podium. Counselors began filing out of the hall. Many of them looked at Sarah Chen as they passed. Some seemed curious. Others looked pitying. A few appeared annoyed. Sarah Chen gathered her notes and tablet. She walked out of the hall with steady steps. Behind her, aliens talked among themselves about the stubborn humans who needed time to accept an obvious gift. None of them noticed that Sarah Chen had stopped taking notes halfway through the session. None of them saw the small smile that crossed her face as she left the building. And none of them wondered why the human ambassador seemed so calm about an ultimatum that should have terrified her. The 30-day countdown had begun. 28 days had passed since the Council gave humanity its ultimatum. The Great Hall buzzed with quiet conversations as counselors took their seats. Many of them looked relaxed. They expected the humans to accept the Council's generous offer with grateful words. Counselor Zethkar called the session to order. His insect-like body clicked as he moved to the podium. "Ambassador Chen, has humanity reached a decision regarding our proposal?" Sarah Chen stood at the human platform. She wore the same simple blue uniform as before. Her expression was calm and professional. She held a single sheet of paper in her hands. "Yes, Counselor Zethkar. My government has carefully considered your offer." General Vorthok leaned forward in his seat. His reptilian features showed satisfaction. The Draknari had been looking forward to patrolling human space. It would give them something to do during peacetime. "Excellent," Zethkar said. "We are pleased that humanity has chosen wisdom. Please share your government's response." Sarah Chen looked down at her paper for a moment. Then she looked back up at the assembly. "Humanity respectfully declines your offer. We prefer to handle our own expansion and security." Silence filled the hall. It was the kind of silence that happens when something impossible occurs. Counselors stared at the small human woman, as if she had just claimed the ability to fly. Zethkar's compound eyes blinked rapidly. I am sorry, Ambassador. Could you repeat that? The translation system may have malfunctioned." "No malfunction," Sarah Chen said clearly. "Humanity declines your offer. We thank you for your concern, but we will manage our own affairs." General Vorthok stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "This is ridiculous. No species refuses Council protection. You cannot survive alone in the galaxy." Melthrin's crystalline body chimed with agitation. "Ambassador Chen, perhaps you do not understand what you are saying. Without Council protection, humanity will face pirates, hostile species, and natural disasters. Your colonies will be defenseless. Sarah Chen folded her paper and put it in her pocket. We understand the risks, Counselor Melthrin. Humans have always preferred to face challenges ourselves rather than depend on others for protection. The Keth Mori representative's tentacles writhed frantically. But this makes no sense. We offer you guidance from species that have existed for thousands of years. We offer you protection from fleets that could destroy your entire civilization. How can you possibly refuse? And strive? It is simple, Sarah Chen replied. We do not want to be protected. We want to be free. The ethereal representative floated down from the ceiling. Her energy form pulsed angry red colors. Freedom? Child species do not get to choose freedom. They must earn it through centuries of proper behavior. Sarah Chen looked directly at the floating energy being. Who decided that rule? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Several counselors started speaking at once. Their voices mixed together in a chaos of alien languages, until the translation system gave up and produced only static. Zethkar pounded his gavel repeatedly. Order! Order in the chamber. When quiet returned, Melthrin spoke carefully. Ambassador, the rules of galactic civilization have existed for millennia. Young species accept guidance from older ones. This is how peace is maintained. That may be how other species chose to do things, Sarah Chen said. Humans prefer a different approach. General Vorthak's scales darkened with rage. Your approach will lead to disaster. Without our guidance, you will make enemies. Without our protection, you will be destroyed. This is not negotiation, human. This is reality. Sarah Chen nodded politely. Thank you for your warning, General. We will keep it in mind. Counselor Jex Hai from the Mollusk Collective spoke for the first time. His voice gurgled through his breathing apparatus. Perhaps the humans need more time to consider. This decision affects their entire species. Our decision is final, Sarah Chen said. We have had 200 years to observe galactic politics. We know what we are choosing. The stellar nomad representative, a being of living metal, spoke with a voice like grinding gears. Then, you choose isolation. The Council cannot trade with species that refuse our authority. Your worlds will receive no help if disasters strike. We understand, Sarah Chen replied. Zethkar leaned forward on the podium. Ambassador Chen, let me be very clear. If humanity refuses Council protection, you will receive no help from any Council member. No trade, no aid, no support. You will be completely alone. Sarah Chen smiled for the first time during the session. Counselor, the humans have been preparing for exactly that situation. This statement caused another eruption of voices. The idea that any species would prepare to be isolated from the Council was unthinkable. It went against everything the galaxy had believed for thousands of years. General Vorthak pointed a clawed finger at the human ambassador. Preparing? What could you possibly have prepared? Your species has existed in space for barely 2 centuries. We have been busy, Sarah Chen said simply. Melthrin's chimes became more frantic. This is impossible. No species can survive without the galactic trade network. Your colonies need resources from dozens of different worlds. Sarah Chen pulled out a small device and activated it. A holographic display appeared above the chamber. It showed trade routes that none of the counselors had seen before. Lines connected human worlds to species that were not part of the Council. Independent systems. Frontier civilizations. Free traders. We have been building relationships, Sarah Chen explained. Many species prefer to trade freely rather than follow Council regulations. We found them quite easy to work with. The hall erupted again. Counselors shouted questions and accusations. How long had humans been building secret trade networks? Which species were involved? Why had Council intelligence not detected this? Zethkar pounded his gavel until his arms ached. When order finally returned, his voice was tight with anger. This is unacceptable, Ambassador. The Council cannot allow species to operate outside our authority. Sarah Chen turned off her device. The holographic display disappeared. With respect, Counselor, you cannot stop trade between willing partners. General Vorthak's voice became dangerously quiet. We can stop it, human. Council fleets can blockade your worlds. We can cut off all contact between your colonies and any other species. You could try, Sarah Chen agreed. But that would be an act of war against a peaceful species. Is that really how the Council wants to be remembered? The chamber fell silent again. The counselors looked at each other uncertainly. No one had expected this conversation. Sarah Chen gathered her things. My government has given me one more message for the Council. We hope to maintain peaceful relations with all species. But we will not trade our freedom for your protection. The human answer is no. She walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the silent hall. Zethkar called after her. Ambassador, you have 10 days to reconsider this foolish decision. Sarah Chen stopped at the door. She turned back to face the assembly. Thank you for the offer, Counselor. She left the hall. Behind her, the most powerful beings in the galaxy stared at the door in complete shock. The Council chamber had never been so tense. Emergency sessions usually dealt with wars between member species or natural disasters. This time, they were planning action against a species that had simply said no. Counselor Zethkar stood at the central podium, his insect features hard with determination. 10 days have passed. The humans have not changed their decision. We must act. General Vorthak rose from his seat with satisfaction. His reptilian smile showed rows of sharp teeth. Finally. The Dragnari fleet has been ready for weeks. We will blockade every human world until they beg for mercy. Melthrin's crystalline body chimed softly. Perhaps we should start with economic pressure. Cut off all trade with human worlds. Let them feel isolation before we use military force. The ethereal representative pulsed with golden light. Both approaches together. Blockade their space and end all trade. No species can survive complete isolation for long. Zethkar activated the central display. It showed human space marked in red. 43 worlds scattered across 12 systems. Each one would need to be watched by Council ships. Admiral Kestar will command the blockade, Zethkar announced. His fleet will ensure no ships enter or leave human space. Admiral Kestar stood and saluted. He was Dragnari like General Vorthak, but his scales were darker and scarred from many battles. My ships are already moving into position, Counselor. The humans will surrender within days. The mollusk collective representative gurgled through his breathing apparatus. What if they resist? Human ships have been seen throughout the sector. Admiral Kestar laughed. It sounded like grinding stone. Human ships? They have converted cargo vessels with basic weapons. My fleet has proper warships built for battle. This will not even be a fight. Forder. 3 days later, Admiral Kestar was not laughing anymore. His flagship, the Stellar Dominance, floated near the human colony world of New Terra. 12 other Dragnari warships spread out in attack formation. Their weapons were charged and ready. The planet below looked peaceful. Cities sparkled with lights. Ships moved between orbital stations like everything was normal. The humans seemed to be ignoring the massive war fleet hanging above their world. Admiral, his communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through, Kestar ordered. A human face appeared on the main screen. The man was middle-aged, with black hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple uniform with captain's stripes on the shoulders. This is Captain Park Min-jun, Defense Coordinator for New Terra. You are in violation of our territorial space. Please withdraw your ships immediately. Kestar stepped forward, his massive form filling the screen. I am Admiral Kestar of the Galactic Council Fleet. This world is under blockade. No ships may enter or leave this system. Captain Park Min-jun nodded politely. I understand your position, Admiral. However, this is human space. We do not recognize your authority here. You do not have a choice. Kestar roared. Surrender now, or face the consequences. The human captain's expression did not change. Admiral, I am going to give you one warning. Leave this system now. You will not receive another. Kestar's crew looked at each other in amazement. A single human was threatening an entire battle fleet. One warning? Kestar laughed. Human. I have 13 warships. Each one could destroy your entire planet. What could you possibly do to threaten me? Captain Park Min-jun checked something on a screen beside him. Admiral, you have 30 seconds to begin withdrawing your ships. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. Kestar turned to his weapons officer. Target their orbital stations. Show them what real weapons can do. Admiral, his sensor officer called out urgently. I am detecting multiple energy signatures throughout the system. What kind of signatures? Kestar demanded. The officer's voice was worried. Unknown, sir. They are appearing everywhere. Asteroids, moon bases, orbital platforms. Everything is powering up. Captain Park Min-jun's voice came through the speakers again. 20 seconds. Admiral. Kestar looked at his tactical display. Red dots were lighting up all over the system. Hundreds of them. They surrounded his fleet completely. Impossible, he whispered. Our intelligence said this system was barely defended. 10 seconds, Captain Park Min-jun announced. Kestar realized he had made a terrible mistake. But his pride would not let him retreat. All ships, prepare for battle. Show these humans the power of the Council. Time is up, Admiral, the human captain said sadly. I am sorry you chose this path. The screen went dark. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, space around the Draknari fleet began to glow. Beams of energy erupted from hidden platforms throughout the system. They struck the Draknari ships with perfect accuracy, not destroying them, but targeting specific systems. Engines went offline. Weapons shut down. Shields collapsed. In less than 30 seconds, the entire Draknari fleet was floating dead in space. Admiral Kestar stared at his control panels in shock. Every system on his ship was offline except life support and communications. His mighty warship had been reduced to a helpless metal shell. Captain Park Min-jun's face reappeared on the emergency communication system. Admiral Kestar, your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. Emergency beacons have been activated. Council rescue ships will arrive within 6 hours. Kestar found his voice. How? Our intelligence said you had no defenses. The human captain smiled sadly. Your intelligence was wrong, Admiral. We have been preparing for this day since we first met the Council. We hoped it would not come. But we were ready. Were. Impossible. No species develops this kind of technology so quickly. Captain Park Min-jun leaned forward. Admiral, humans have been fighting wars for 5,000 years. We know how to build defenses. We know how to prepare for enemies. Most importantly, we know how to hide our preparations from those who might use them against us. Kestar slumped in his command chair. His career was over. Worse, he had just learned that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. What will you do with my ships? He asked quietly. Nothing, Captain Park Min-jun replied. You came here in peace, even if your intentions were hostile. We will let you return to Council space with a message. What message? The human captain's expression became serious. Tell the Council that humans do not want war. But we will not accept domination either. We prefer to be left alone. Hours later, Admiral Kestar sat in a council rescue ship watching New Terra shrink behind them. His entire fleet was being towed home like broken toys. He would have to explain to the council how 13 warships had been defeated without firing a single shot. He would have to tell them that human space was far more dangerous than anyone had believed. Most importantly, he would have to admit that the humans had been preparing for war while pretending to be weak. The council was about to learn that they had badly underestimated their opponents. The emergency council session was unlike anything in galactic history. Reports flooded in from across the sector. Every council fleet sent to enforce the blockade had met the same fate as Admiral Kestar's ships: disabled, helpless, and sent home with their pride in ruins. Counselor Zethkar's compound eyes darted between multiple data screens. His insect features showed confusion and growing fear. 17 separate incidents. 31 warships disabled. Not one human casualty reported. General Vorthok paced behind his seat, like a caged predator. His reptilian features were dark with rage and humiliation. This is impossible. How could a primitive species defeat our best fleets without firing a single shot? The ethereal representative floated near the ceiling, her energy form pulsing with agitated colors. Our intelligence networks have failed completely. We know nothing about human capabilities. Melthrin's crystalline body chimed with distress. The reports are consistent. Hidden defensive platforms throughout every human system. Weapons that can disable our ships without destroying them. Coordination that suggests preparation spanning decades. Admiral Kestar stood at the witness podium. His proud military bearing was gone. He looked like a soldier who had seen something that broke his understanding of the universe. "Tell us again," Zethkar demanded, "exactly what happened at New Terra." Kestar's voice was quiet and defeated. "We arrived, expecting minimal resistance. The human captain warned us to leave. We refused. Their defenses activated. 2. "What kind of defenses?" General Vorthok snarled. "Energy weapons hidden in asteroids, moon bases, orbital platforms. Hundreds of them. They appeared everywhere at once. Our sensors never detected them until they powered up." The Kethmori representative's tentacles writhed nervously. But how could they hide so much equipment? Our surveillance satellites monitor every system in the galaxy. Kesastar looked directly at the assembled counselors. "Because we were not looking for military installations. We were looking for primitive colonies. We saw what we expected to see." Ambassador Sarah Chen had been sitting quietly through the entire session. She wore the same simple blue uniform as always. Her expression was calm and professional, as if she were attending a routine trade meeting. Zethkar turned his attention to her. "Ambassador Chen, perhaps you can explain how your species acquired such advanced defensive capabilities." Sarah Chen stood slowly. "Counselor, we have never hidden our capabilities. We simply never advertised them." General Vorthok stepped forward aggressively. "Do not play word games with us, human. Our intelligence said you had no significant military technology." Sarah Chen smiled politely. "Your intelligence was looking for the wrong things, General. You expected to find weapons like yours. Large ships, obvious military bases, fleets patrolling in formation. What else would we look for?" Melthrin chimed. "Preparation," Sarah Chen replied. "Humans do not build obvious targets. We build redundant systems, hidden installations, and distributed defenses." The stellar nomad representative spoke with his grinding metal voice. "Why do you build such things? What enemy were you preparing to fight?" Sarah Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was serious. "Each other." The chamber fell silent. Counselors looked at each other with confusion. "I do not understand," Zethkar said. Sarah Chen walked to the center of the chamber. "For 5,000 years, humans fought wars on our home world. Not occasional conflicts like most species experience. Constant, brutal, wars. We became very good at preparing for enemies. She activated a small device. Holographic images appeared above the assembly. Cities in ruins. Massive armies clashing across continents. Ships burning in the void of space. We learned to hide our most important assets. We learned to build weapons that could defeat enemies much larger than ourselves. We learned that the best defense is one your enemy does not know exists. Admiral Kestar nodded grimly. The platforms that disabled my fleet, they were not built recently. No. Sarah Chen agreed. We have been building defensive networks since our first colonies were established. Every human world has similar installations. General Vorthok's voice became dangerous. Are you threatening the Council? Sarah Chen turned to face him. No, General. We are explaining why we prefer independence. Humans do not trust anyone else to protect us. We have learned that safety comes from our own preparations. The ethereal's light pulsed angry red. This is unacceptable. No species should possess such capabilities without Council oversight. Why? Sarah Chen asked simply. The question hung in the air. Several counselors started to answer, then stopped. They realized they had no good reason except tradition. Melthrin's chimes became softer. Because young species are not responsible enough for such power. Sarah Chen looked around the chamber. Counselors, has humanity attacked anyone? Have we conquered other species? Have we started wars? Zethkar checked his data screens. No. All reports show defensive actions only. Then how are we irresponsible? General Vorthok growled. Because you refuse Council authority. Is accepting authority the same as being responsible? Sarah Chen asked. The Mollusk Collective representative gurgled thoughtfully. The human raises an interesting point. Their actions have been defensive and proportional. Sarah Chen walked back to her seat. Counselors, my government has asked me to make one more offer. Zethkar leaned forward. What kind of offer? Partnership, Sarah Chen said. Not protection. Not guidance. Equal partnership between independent species. Impossible, the ethereal shrieked. Young species cannot be equals. Sarah Chen looked directly at the floating energy being. Again, silence filled the chamber. The counselors realized they had no answer except prejudice and tradition. Melthrin spoke carefully. What would this partnership involve? Trade on equal terms, cooperation when our interests align, respect for each other's independence, no one giving orders to anyone else. General Vorthok slammed his fist on his desk. The Council does not negotiate with species that resist our authority. Sarah Chen nodded. Then we will continue to go our separate ways. Zethkar's voice became threatening. You cannot stand against the entire Council, Ambassador. We have resources you cannot imagine. Sarah Chen smiled sadly. Counselor, do you really want to find out what else humans have been preparing for? Our defensive networks were built assuming we would be alone. What do you think we prepared for larger threats? The implications of her words settled over the chamber like a cold wind. If humans had built such extensive defenses for system-level conflicts, what had they prepared for galactic-level war? Admiral Kestar spoke into the silence. Counselors, I recommend we consider the human offer seriously. General Vorthok whirled on him. You have been defeated by primitives. Your opinion is worthless. Kestar straightened his shoulders. I have seen what humans can do when they prepare for war. I do not want to see what they have prepared for total war. Zethkar looked around the chamber. For the first time in Council history, he was uncertain about their course of action. Sarah Chen gathered her things. My government will wait for your decision. But we will not wait forever. She walked toward the exit. This time, no one called after her. The largest fleet in galactic history moved through space like a metal storm. 600 warships from 23 different Council species. The combined armada had never been assembled for anything less than galaxy-threatening emergencies. General Vorthok stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. The humans had gone too far. They had embarrassed the Council's authority. Now they would face the consequences. Admiral Kim So-young will answer for her species' arrogance, he growled to his staff. The human commander had sent a message to the armada 3 days ago. Simple and direct. Turn back now. You will not receive another warning. The Council had laughed. What could one species do against the combined might of 47 worlds? They were about to find out. The edge of human space appeared on long-range sensors. The fleet slowed to sublight speed and formed battle formations. General Vorthok expected to see human ships waiting to defend their territory. Instead, space appeared empty. Sensor report, Vorthok demanded. Nothing, sir. No ships, no stations, no defensive platforms. All human systems appear undefended. Vorthok frowned. This felt wrong. Humans had proven they could defend themselves. Why would they leave their space unguarded? Signal from the human command frequency, the communications officer reported. A woman's face appeared on the main screen. She was middle-aged with black hair and calm features. Her uniform was simple, but her bearing was that of someone who had commanded fleets in battle. I am Admiral Kim So-young, Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. You are approaching sovereign human territory with hostile intent. General Vorthok stepped forward. I am General Vorthok of the Galactic Council Armada. You will surrender immediately or face total destruction. Admiral Kim So-young nodded politely. General, I must inform you that your fleet is already surrounded. Vorthok laughed. Surrounded? We see nothing but empty space. Check your sensors again. The human admiral suggested. Vorthok turned to his sensor operator. The alien's face was pale with fear. General, new contacts are appearing everywhere. Hundreds of them. The tactical display came alive with red dots. They emerged from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, from clouds of space dust. Ships that had been invisible moments before now filled the screen. Impossible, Vorthok whispered. Our sensors are the best in the galaxy. Admiral Kim So-young's voice remained calm. Your sensors are excellent, General. But they cannot detect ships using stealth technology you have never encountered. More contacts appeared. The Council fleet was completely encircled by human vessels. But these were not the converted cargo ships intelligence had reported. These were sleek, purpose-built warships unlike anything in the galactic database. How many ships do you have? Vorthok asked quietly. Enough, Admiral Kim So-young replied. General, you have one chance to withdraw your fleet peacefully. Take it. Vorthok looked at his tactical display. His 600 ships faced at least twice that number of unknown human vessels. But he had come too far to retreat now. All ships, prepare for battle, he commanded. Show these humans the power of the Council. Admiral Kim So-young sighed sadly. You have chosen poorly, General. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Human ships moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. They appeared and disappeared using stealth systems that made tracking impossible. Their weapons cut through Council shields as if they did not exist. Their tactics were precise, coordinated, and absolutely overwhelming. But the most shocking thing was their restraint. Not a single Council ship was destroyed. Human weapons targeted engines, weapons systems, and navigation equipment. Within minutes, the mighty armada was floating helplessly in space. General Vorthok sat in his command chair, staring at dead control panels. His flagship had been disabled so quickly, he barely saw what hit it. Admiral Kim So-young's face reappeared on his emergency communication system. General Vorthok, your fleet is disabled but intact. Rescue beacons have been activated. Your people will be recovered safely. Why? Vorthok asked. You could have destroyed us all. The human admiral's expression became serious. Because destroying you would solve nothing. Admiral Kestar's voice came over the fleet communication system from his own disabled ship. General, request permission to speak with the human commander. Vorthok nodded numbly. Permission granted. Kestar appeared on a split screen next to Admiral Kim So-young. Admiral, I fought humans at New Terra. Your restraint is remarkable. Rive. Thank you, Admiral Kestar. We remember that meeting. Your conduct was honorable, even in defeat. Kestar straightened in his chair. What do humans truly want? Not conquest, clearly. Not revenge. What? Admiral Kim So-young was quiet for a moment. To be left alone, Admiral. To grow and explore in peace. To trade with those who wish to trade. To defend ourselves when necessary. Nothing more. But why resist the Council? Kestar asked. We offer stability, protection, guidance. The human admiral smiled sadly. Admiral, would you accept protection from someone who demanded you give up your independence in return? Kestar thought about that. Then you understand our position. General Vorthok found his voice. Your technology. Your ships. How long have you been building them? Since our first day in space, Admiral Kim So-young replied. Humans learned long ago that peace is possible only when you are too strong to attack safely. 3 days later, the emergency council session was very different from previous meetings. The councilors sat in stunned silence as reports came in from the disabled armada. Not one casualty. Not one ship destroyed. The humans had defeated the largest fleet in galactic history without killing a single being. Councilor Zethkar looked older than his years. The reports are confirmed. 600 ships disabled in 17 minutes. No fatalities. No destruction. Admiral Kestar stood at the witness podium again. This time, his bearing was that of a soldier who had gained respect for his enemy. The humans could have destroyed us all, he reported. They chose not to. They showed mercy to an enemy that came to conquer them. Melthrin's crystalline form chimed softly. Such restraint is unusual in warfare. The ethereal representative had dimmed to barely visible light. We underestimated them completely. Their technology, their preparation, their wisdom. Ambassador Sarah Chen entered the chamber and walked to the human platform. She carried herself with the same quiet dignity as always. But now, the councilors looked at her with new respect. Zethkar stood slowly. Ambassador Chen, the council has reconsidered our position regarding humanity. Sarah Chen smiled. What position is that, Counselor? We would like to discuss partnership. True partnership, between equals. General Vorthok rose from his seat. For the first time, his voice held respect instead of arrogance. Ambassador, what would humanity want in such a partnership? Sarah Chen looked around the chamber. The same thing we have always wanted, General. To be treated as equals. To make our own choices. To trade freely with those who wish to trade. To be respected for what we are, not protected because you think we are weak. Melthrin's chimes became musical and warm. And in return, we offer the same respect to all council species. Trade, cooperation, mutual defense when interests align. We do not seek to rule anyone. We simply refuse to be ruled. Zethkar nodded slowly. The council would be honored to accept humanity as an equal partner. Sarah Chen smiled more widely than she had since the crisis began. Then let us begin discussing how equal partners can work together. For the first time in galactic history, a species had refused council protection and survived. More importantly, they had earned something far more valuable than protection. They had earned respect. The age of human independence had begun.